Well, good morning, everybody. It's great to be here. I raised my hand at the 10 to 20 years in the Triangle. We spent about 15 years here, and with the Duke merger, moved to Charlotte. So again, I've got both sides of the state covered. It's really a pleasure for me to be here today and really kick off this great conference and talk about the future of distributed energy from Duke's perspective. And I think as we go through this, you'll see that the panels that follow will go into much greater detail in terms of some of the topics I'm going to just touch on briefly. So as Paul mentioned, my job at Duke is distributed energy resources, and it's a brand new role that's about 3 months old that I just acquired. And so I posted on Facebook with my family, I got this new role at Duke. It's called distributed energy resources. And my brother writes back, "What the heck is that?" And so I say, well, it's distributed generation, it's microgrids, it's electric vehicles, it's demand response programs, it's home automation, it's all that stuff. And he goes, oh, all the cool stuff. So I have responsibility for Duke's cool stuff, and I'm very happy to be in this role. Very excited to be here today to talk about really Duke's view of a distributed energy future. And I really do believe that we are headed for a distributed energy future. And let me talk about what our major beliefs are in that regard. So the three things I'm going to cover today, and you'll see more detailed discussions about this throughout the day, is distributed energy resources and clean energy resources are going to be a growing and significant part of our generation portfolio going forward. But they will coexist with our existing central station. And again, it's a supplement to a great generation system that we have in the state of North Carolina across the Southeast that keeps rates to customers extremely low and affordable. But clean tech, clean energy, and distributed energy resources are going to be a significantly increasing portion of that portfolio. And let me talk about that for just a second. So Duke has about 350 central station generating stations across our service territory, which equate to about 60,000 megawatts of service. So about 350 generators, 60,000 megawatts of power. We also have 5,000 distributed generators across our system that today represent about 600 megawatts. So when I think about it, is we're going from a model of 300 or more central station generators to already we have over 5,000 what I would call distributed energy generators on our system. Drastically different world in the future. And I see the distributed part of that portfolio continuing to grow. Integrated grid is required for system optimization. It's more and more critical today that our grid, in other words, our transmission system, our distribution system, and the generation that supports that is robust, is up to date, it's smart, you've heard it called that, but integrating that grid from a model that used to be, how do I manage 7 million customers and 300 generators, to a model where I'm going to have to manage 10,000 plus generators and the same 7 million customers. An integrated grid is absolutely required for that, and is the way that we can optimize the system to create the most value for customers. So again, one of our major core beliefs about distributed energy resources. Technology, again, Cleantech Cluster, technology and RTP, synonymous. There's no question that the deployment and advancement of technology is going to continue to accelerate. It's unbelievable. We can talk a lot about that. So you think about solar PV in the last 5 or 6 years. Unbelievable improvement, not only in price, but in the technology itself. And that's going to continue. And then we haven't even started to talk yet about technology on the customer side, or technology on the grid side, or technology in the communication side of our business. Absolutely going to be ever increasing at an unprecedented rate, and very critical and important to a distributed energy resource future. And then finally, and probably most importantly, is the customers. Customers' expectations are changing. Customers' needs are changing. We used to think in the utility business we had 3 classes of customers. We had 3 customers: residential, commercial, and industrial. Today we've realized we have 7 million meters, but we've got about 25 million customers. And each one of those customers have different needs. And our job is to make sure we can meet the needs of those customers in this new distributed energy future. And I think we can. I think we're well positioned to do that, and we'll talk a little bit about that as I go through these slides this morning. So what is the cool stuff? Well, the cool stuff is some of the things that are on this list. One of the major differences that we're facing as we look towards a distributed energy future is now there are resources on both the supply side and the demand side to meet customers' needs. And there are significant resources in between. And that gets to the integrated grid part of this equation, if you will. Again, I'm not going to read all those things. It's a little bit of a busy slide. I apologize for that. But the main point is you've got supply-side resources now and demand-side resources now and everything in between. And optimizing those resources, again, is the great opportunity for our company and for our industry to make sure that customers' needs are met in the most optimized and cost-effective manner. And you can see some of the cool stuff there. Rooftop DG, combined heat and power, electric vehicles, dynamic pricing, demand response. Let me talk about demand response for just a minute. I don't have any slides in this deck about solar production, but if you think about it, the sun and the solar production peaks in the middle of the day, roughly. And our load peaks in the evening, or in last January at 8 o'clock in the morning in Charlotte. We have an opportunity when we have a lot more generation on in the middle of the day to think about demand response as a positive. We think about demand response mostly as a negative. How do I clip that afternoon peak? I think in the future, demand response is going to be, how do I incent customers to increase demand when I have excess generating capacity from solar generation in the middle part of the day? Just as an example of how we can look across this value chain. I call this the integrated value chain, and think about things differently than we have in the past. I'm very excited about these technologies. Like Paul mentioned, we're working with a lot of companies on microgrids. We're working on electric vehicles, smart inverters. There's a bunch of folks that know a lot more about these things than I do. But all of those green resources, if you will, are going to be critically important, and the technology continues to advance at an unbelievable pace. So this is what it's about from Duke's perspective. And again, we can argue that these are not in the right box or not. I get that. But these are the types of things that we're working out at Duke. This is one of my favorite slides. You've probably seen it before. If not, I show this slide because really there's three major things that are driving distributed energy resources, in my opinion, particularly in North Carolina. Policy, technology, and the consumer, our customers. But what this graph shows is the penetration of solar generation across the country. And I think this is as of August of 14. I assure you there's not more sun in North Carolina than there is in South Carolina. It's just absolutely not true. But you can see all of the cluster, the Cleantech cluster, if you will, in North Carolina. And that's driven by policy and technology and our customers. So let me talk about that. So we have a 30% federal tax credit. We have a 35% state tax credit. We have a renewable portfolio standard, and we have technology prices that have brought the cost of that distributed generation down significantly since we passed Senate Bill 3 in 2007. So it's the combination of policy, technology, and customer demands that are making North Carolina a leader in the clean tech arena. And that's what shows on this graph. As Paul mentioned, I work in a lot of the Duke states. We serve 6. The other 5 states that I'm responsible for are looking at North Carolina and say, hey, we want some of that too. So that's our challenge. How do we take the successes that we've seen in North Carolina and take that across our system? Let me back up a minute. So what are we doing as Duke Energy with respect to generation, solar generation in particular, renewables broadly in North Carolina? We just announced a $500 million commitment to utility-scale generation a couple of months ago after the results of an RFP process. And again, it reflects 2 things. One, Duke's commitment to renewable energy, and a recognition that a Duke investment in renewable generation technology is in our customers' best interest. And so let me talk about that for a minute. So we've been a generating company for well over 100 years. And our generation portfolio has evolved and continues to evolve. And I think that large-scale renewable generation, solar photovoltaics, in North Carolina, I get the pleasure to work with chicken waste and pig waste as a renewable energy. Things that I never thought I would be doing. That's maybe not so cool, but it's part of the stuff that we deal with. In any case, Duke is committed and is now putting its investment dollars to work to continue to build utility-scale generation for our customers in North Carolina. Very happy to be there. I think you'll see more Duke investment in this space. So technology. I don't have time today to talk about technologies broadly, but I wanted to point out a couple of things that we're doing at Duke. So we've got we've got lots of demonstration projects, but here's a couple that I wanted to highlight. So we've got the McAlpine station, where it's a microgrid, if you will. It's a feeder in South Charlotte. We're testing some microgrid things there, but you can see the major components of what an integrated grid or what a microgrid is going to require. There's generation on site, solar PV panels in this particular case. There's a battery, it's a megawatt battery there. You've got reclosers so you can isolate this feeder from the grid. We've got a customer, in this case it's the fire station, and then it's right next to one of our substations. So you've got many of the components that you need for a microgrid to work, and what we're trying to do is test those technologies. How does that battery chemistry and that battery work with solar? How does it work against the needs of that fire station? How are we going to isolate that circuit? How do we bring it back? So we're doing a lot of good work there to really demonstrate how a microgrid can work, and really more importantly, how all of those technologies can work together. Because I'm convinced that it's the integration of all these distributed energy resource technologies that are going to create the most value for our customers. And that's why we're doing projects like that. In our Marshall Solar Farm, we've got about a megawatt of solar capacity out there, 17 different arrays. I think it's about 10 different solar technologies. And then there's some battery storage technology there as well. And again, what we're doing there is we're making sure we understand the different technologies of solar panels. All solar panels are not created equal. All solar panel technology is not created equal. All batteries are not created equal. The way you use a battery is dramatically different from application to application. So there's an example of, again, some of the demonstration we're doing with technology to prepare us for this distributed energy future. So some of the cool stuff is advancing at different paces. So this is a slide that I like to use, and it doesn't have all the technologies we're dealing with, but it has a lot of them. And what we've tried to do here is say, what is the technical maturity of some of these technologies, and what is the impact, significant impact? When's the time to significant impact? And it's important for us to do both, to look at the maturity of the technology and the time that we're going to have it as a full-scale part of our system. And I got some names up there just really for illustrative purposes. So what you've got is, near term, the technical maturity of solar PV is pretty high. There's continuing to be improvements. I don't mean to say that it's completely mature. It'll never be completely mature, but it's significantly more mature than some of these other technologies. We talk about electric vehicles. We had a very nice display of electric vehicles out there. We've got some electric vehicle sponsors for this event today. A very critical part and a growing important part of our distributed energy future. And you can see it's going to have significant impact, and it's not that far away. We've seen tremendous penetration of vehicles, tremendous penetration of electric vehicles in our North Carolina. I talked about combined heat and power a little bit. Tremendous, tremendous opportunity with low gas prices, with the technology of combustion gas turbines, and with the customer's needs for steam or hot water. So again, we've got a group in our business development organization that is looking at how do we deploy combined heat and power where it makes sense for our customers. And we think, again, that maturity is pretty well defined. It continues to improve, like I said, and the impact has a potential to be very large. And then you can see some of the others. Microgrids, probably a little further out, a little lower in terms of technology maturity, and a little longer before it's a full impact. But we have a lot of customers, campuses, college campuses, military bases, joint use facilities, joint use developments, hospital campuses that are looking at microgrid technologies along with renewable generation and storage. And we think there's a real opportunity for Duke to help that. And again, so you can see, we look at this, and we update this chart pretty regularly. we get together with our emerging technology organization and with our business development organization and say, okay, where's this plan? What are our customers telling us they want? Where's the technology going? How do we incorporate this into our future? So that's a very high-level review of technology. Again, you'll get into more detail on some of the panels today. I just wanted to tee it up, let you know that Duke is thinking about all these distributed energy resources as part of our generation portfolio and as part of our grid. So I talked about customers. Customers' expectations are changing. Customers' needs are changing. We do a lot of customer research, and in fact, we're increasing the amount of customer research we did. Like I said, we used to have residential, commercial, and industrial customers. We know that's not good enough, and I got another slide to talk about that in a minute. But it's actually getting more complicated. Technology is making it more complicated for our customers to understand what's going on in the marketplace. So you've got some companies here. Again, this is just representative of the types of technology companies or companies that are improving their technologies, increasing their technology capability, and are kind of in the regulated utility space, in the utility space, in the energy space. And it's a impressive list. I want to talk about a couple. So the Cree light bulb, or LED light bulbs in general, an amazing technology. Again, we've seen a very similar path in terms of the improvements in the technology and the declining price curve. Significant impact on our business. We see smart appliances coming into the business where customers can program their appliances, or when the appliances can be programmed almost automatically, set and forget. Those technologies coming. Nest thermostat. So Google bought Nest, we all know that. How many people have a Nest thermostat? Quite a few. More of you will soon. Or a Honeywell thermostat or a Ecobee thermostat. It's where the technology is going. We have about 170,000 Nest thermostats in our service territory already. And again, most of that is direct sale from Nest. Most thermostats are sold with the HVAC system. But here's another story I like to tell about Nest thermostat, and it talks about the customer's expectation in this marketplace. So a year ago, my daughter bought her first house. Out of school, buying her first house with her husband. They bought a Nest thermostat before they bought living room furniture. I never thought to do that. I never had the choice to buy a Nest thermostat, but it gives you an insight. It's anecdotal, but it gives us an insight into what our customers' expectations, behaviors, needs, and wants are. And again, it gives us some insight into what we need to be doing from a customer's perspective to help the customers manage through this complex marketplace. It's an exciting time. There's a lot of good things happening there. We could spend 20 minutes talking about each one of the companies that are on that list and how it's going to impact and play into this distributed energy future. But I think the key takeaway here is all of these things confirm mine and Duke's expectation that we're moving towards a more distributed energy future. The technology is improving. The customers are demanding it. There's lots of players coming into this space, and it's going to mean really great things for our customers and our energy consumption and the use of clean energy going forward. So here's my last slide, I think, maybe second to last slide. And I spend a lot of time talking about customers, and I spend more and more time. And so this is illustrative. This isn't to mean that we only have customers at both ends of the spectrum, because we do have some baby boomers that are much more technologically advantaged than others. And we recognize that. But the point here is we've started to look at customers and segment them, and ultimately we're going to differentiate them, segment them into maybe 10 or 12 or 20 segments in terms of behavior and needs and wants and offerings that we can help them to make their energy experience better. But ultimately, we want to get to 7 million differentiated customers or 25 million differentiated customers, but it's going to be a long time. But here's a couple of things. So we know that our millennials, they want to get information from their utility by text or tweet. To what? Tweet. I'd never know that. I guess I'm showing that I'm on the baby boomer side of this chart. So we don't even talk to our kids anymore. We don't email our kids anymore. All we can do is text them if you want a response. And they don't even tweet. They just really, it's all text. But what our research suggests is that's how our customers want to deal with us. They don't want to just deal with their parents that way. Our customers want to deal with their utility that way. Look at that. 57% are interested in energy management systems. Again, that's all part of this distributed energy resource technology spectrum. And there's clearly, our research shows, there's clearly a significantly higher interest in energy efficiency, energy management, automation, technology to do that in our younger customers than there is in our somewhat more seasoned customers. They're also significantly more interested in installing solar panels. And as that technology comes down, I think we'll see them do that. So when I think, again, back to our belief that we are entering into a period of significantly more clean energy and distributed energy, it's really because these are going to be our customers for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. But on the other side of the scale, we've got baby boomers. They still want bill inserts. Interesting stat, only 13% have contacted their utility online. And again, so we need to make sure that we have the media and the social media and the communication media with our customers so that all of them can deal with the utility the way they want to. And again, these customers are less likely today to install solar panels on their house. But that's fine. What our research suggests is there's a lot of customers in that group that also want to see more renewable generation. And that ties back to why this is a portfolio which will include utility scale generation, community scale generation, rooftop generation as we move forward. But again, just a couple of things here that this is the way Duke thinks about and is starting to think more and more about this distributed energy future and the role our customers are going to have in that. So I'm going to summarize real quickly here and talk about the drivers. Policy and technology. And it's an exciting time. Policy has done wonders for this business, and technology has enhanced that significantly. Again, technology is the second point. There's a significant amount of R&D still needed. And I know a lot of you companies represented here are entrepreneurial. You're doing some testing. We're doing a lot of R&D. A lot of R&D is needed, but a tremendous opportunity for technology advancements going forward. And then the customer. We've spent a lot of time talking about the customer. And again, this is all about the customer. We're in business to make sure that the customer has 24/7 electricity. So we need to make sure that the grid and the power system in our generation portfolio is there to meet their needs at all times. So with that, I'm going to say thank you for being here. I think we have some time for some questions.
Good morning, and thank you so much for coming to talk to us today.
Sure.
I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about how companies like Apple and Google have had an impact on renewable energy generation, regulation of power distribution, and the future that we're headed with more companies demanding direct use of renewable energy.
Sure. So everybody catch the question? Really talk a little bit about Google and Apple. And it's really, again, when we focus on customers, it's very important for us to understand what our customers' wants and needs are. So customers like Google and Apple have corporate sustainability goals. And so each of their locations are charged with meeting those corporate sustainability objectives. And our role is to help them in our service territories in North Carolina, for example, meet their objectives. So we filed and got approval of a green source rider earlier this year that will allow companies to really source renewable energy directly for their expanded growth in North Carolina. And I think we're going to see more and more of those, what I call opt-in type or customer-specific type projects and programs, because we're responding to what our customers' needs are, and that is more green energy, more sustainability. And it's not just limited to the Apples and the Googles and the tech companies. A lot of companies are interested in that. So more to come in that. We recognize that customers have a desire for more green energy, and we're going to try and help them make those, meet those objectives. So more to come.
So I get, flyers in the mail from Duke, and I love it about they can come in and do a free energy audit for my house and help me conserve energy. What about those folks that are in your customer base that are kind of lower income? Does Duke kind of have a strategy to reach out to them regarding renewables?
We do. And in fact, that's one of the struggles that we face, and that's one of the things when we think about customer is we don't just have residential customers, and all of our residential customers aren't like us in this room. And so we do have, on the energy efficiency front, we have low-income energy efficiency programs designed specifically for low-income customers. We have a neighborhood energy savers program where we will come in and do a lot of retrofits, energy efficiency retrofits, at little or no cost. From a renewable energy standpoint, that's where I think the concept of us building it as a utility scale, maybe community solar so that people can participate in it. It's very hard for many of our customers to think about ever having a solar panel on their roof. It's also very hard to put a solar panel on a roof of an inefficient building. So our foundation is, let's work with them, let's work with all of our customers, but let's make sure that we're taking care of low-income customers to green the building as much as we can. And then if we can't put DG on the particular premise, let's have some programs like a community solar offering. Or again, as our portfolio continues to be greened, they'll get the advantage of a greener and greener portfolio. But one of the things, you raise an excellent point, and I talk about the customer differentiation all the time. What we think doesn't cost much, other customers think costs a lot. And we have to balance that. And so energy efficiency programs, maybe some community-type renewable programs will help us do that.
I just wanted to know what you might be able to comment on the notion of renewable nuclear power, like Generation 4 power plants and such.
Mm-hmm. So the question is, again, when we think about clean energy, nuclear has got to be part of that mix. Again, when you think about capacity value, you think about 24/7, you think about clean, we believe that we've got to have a diversified portfolio and that nuclear's got to be a piece of that. Again, it's not deemed per se renewable, but if you think about the clean air things that are coming out of Washington and the move to clean up greenhouse gases and some of the goals that we have for air standards, nuclear will continue to play a very important role in that. It's carbon-free, it's a lot of energy, it's 24/7 capacity, it's going to be part of the mix. I probably should have said that. When I think about a distributed energy future, we're still going to have a portfolio because we need clean base load. We have a lot of hydro. We're fortunate in North Carolina to have a lot of hydro energy. We're going to need our natural gas. We're going to need our clean coal technology, and it's going to be supplemented and complemented with renewables. But I think it's got to be a part of the energy future, clearly part of the clean energy future.
How do you see the policy and regulatory changes that are needed to sort of support your growing business in distributed generation? The regulatory structure obviously was set up for Thomas Edison's 100-year-old system. So maybe you can comment on a few of the things that you'd like to see happen in the near term.
Thank you for putting me on the spot since I have my regulatory friends in the audience. I think clearly, again, policy is one of the key drivers. And policy must keep pace with technology and customer expectations and customer needs and customer wants. And we've been working with our regulators in terms of how do we do that. So we worked with them. They approved the Green Source Rider for us, a customer program, a little bit different, a little bit out of the ordinary. We will continue to have, and I keep pointing there because I see some of them sitting here. We continue to have conversations, and there is a recognition. We have a conversation with the public staff and with the commission staff about policy needs to keep up with technology and customers' needs. And they get that. And their objective is very much aligned with ours, which is provide the best value, the highest reliability, the most resiliency, the best price electricity. And so we're very much aligned in our objectives. And so we'll be working through the regulatory policy and the legislative policy to make sure that policies keep track with technology and customer needs. But it's a great question. A lot of effort going on there.
Please join me in thanking Rob for his informative comments. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you.